Okay, everyone. Happy New Year's to everyone. New Year's is a time of reflection, of introspection, of optimism, of thinking back to one's past and thinking forward in the future. And in that spirit, at Meetup, we wanted to look back into our 2020. For many of us, it was a difficult year, and that's definitely the case for Meetup. But there was also incredible learnings and ways in which we all became better, and which I believe fundamentally Meetup became better as well. And then we're going to share with you what's in the roadmap in terms of marketing, in terms of driving more people to attend Meetup events, in terms of product changes that we're planning on focusing on for 2021. And I'm looking forward to getting all of your suggestions and feedback, and I'll share my email at the end. So before we get started, I just want to make sure that everyone knows the event's going to be recorded. You will not appear on video. Your audio is going to be muted throughout the event. If you have questions, please submit those questions in the Q&A feature, not the chat feature, but the Q&A feature, so that we can then have time for Q&A at the end. And closed captioning is available. Accessibility is incredibly important to us. You could turn it on, and there's information on how to do so. Quick introduction. I'm going to give you an update on our business, and thank you so much for joining, and we'll save time at the end for questions. So, no better time to get started than now. First of all, I just want to thank all of you. We call people that are Meetup employees Meetuppers, but I really just want to extend that term of Meetuppers to really all of you, because whether you're a Meetup organizer or you're a Meetup member, you're part of the fabric of this ecosystem that we have that is and has changed the lives of millions of people. And we're going to be sharing more about that shortly. The other thing before I go into the slide is just to reference the events of yesterday and ongoing events today in terms of the storming of the Capitol. We're going to be sharing with you some policies that we've updated actually 2-3 months ago regarding conspiracy theories and regarding ensuring that Meetup is always a safe environment to be in, and regarding firearms and other very, very important safety measures. It's one of the most important things that Meetup can bring, which is a safe environment for people to gather. And we'll be sharing that shortly as well. Okay. There are unfortunately many similarities between 1920, 1921, and 2020 and 2021, as you can see in the image in front of you. The late 1900s was a time of terrible kind of death, pandemic, and decimation, whether it was World War I that occurred at the end of the late teens, and the Spanish flu, which incomprehensibly killed 75 million people. The result after that horrible time period in the late 19 teens was the Roaring 20s. And the Roaring 20s was a time where people got back out, and they got back and started getting together into parties, to social outlets, and there was a reason why it was known as the Roaring 20s. My hope, my belief, my prayer is that similar occurrences will happen as, God willing, we all move forward with a vaccine and we go from a pandemic to a time where we're each appreciating each other all the more, and that history does in fact repeat itself. That's my hope and prayer for each of us. I want to share with you a quick video, a little bit about the Meetup that we know. The Meetup that we knew was an only in-person experience. The Meetup that we know today is an in-person and an online experience. And online is here to stay, and we'll always be both. So here's a little video.
Imagine we could come together within the physical and virtual communities we live in to tell our stories, share our interests, to be a part of something bigger. Imagine we could go places where each person is free to create their own experiences with different perspectives, passions, skill levels, and the knowledge of an entire community. A community that shows up for each other, online or in real life. while being safe. Meetup brings that imagination to reality.
Hi everyone.
In every corner of the world, there are wounds to heal.
Hello.
People to meet, connections to be made,
I really don't know how to stay inside.
and passions to explore. We all have the power of connection. We need each other more than ever. And our communities are what makes a difference. Join Meetup today and build your community. Imagine we could come together.
We need Meetup more than ever, and our communities and your communities make a difference. And to give you an idea of our numbers, we have 50 million plus people worldwide. And it gives me like goosebumps every time that we do this at Meetup Date and we see the different countries and places and cities where you're all from. And the reason why we're worldwide is because we're all about human, and we're all about human connections. And human connections and the need for human connections is something that goes against, exists in every single geography around the world, with 330,000 groups, 100,000 meetup events every day in 10,000 cities around the world. And those are the numbers, and they're really quite astounding, kind of mind-boggling. And then something happened. What I want to share with you today is the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think as a leader, it's important not just be a rah-rah person, but to share with you challenges that we had in our business throughout 2020 with the pandemic, and to share how we tried to react and do our best during that particular time to keep people connected. Our events, we saw, took a significant nosedive during the pandemic for very good reason, because we couldn't get together in person anymore. The people attending events also continued to take a nosedive during that particular time as well. And that's scary as a company, as a leader, and even for humanity, because we know how important in-person connecting actually is. And these are actual numbers, not made up kind of reds. These are actually how much they did in fact go down. And then we made a pivot. We made a pivot to online. We now have had over 1.8 million online events created, 12 million people attending those events in 190 different countries around the world. I guess there's 3 countries that it hasn't happened yet, but we'll find out what those are. So what I want to do is, in talking about 2020, before we get to what we're going to do in 2021, is to talk about some learnings that we had as an organization and how we learn and best practice around pivoting our business. And I actually think it's something that each of you are entrepreneurs in every different way. And if you're not entrepreneurs, you're certainly entrepreneurial. And each of these, and I want to share some best practices around what we learned around pivoting our business that maybe you could take to your businesses and in your lives as well. So here we go. Number 8, a pivot can never change your mission and your values. Meetup's mission and value and vision to empower personal growth through real human connections, people to turn to each other to improve their lives, can never change. And notice, we don't say that it has to be in person. We say it's about human connections. And as we were pivoting our business in Meetup, we said, are we okay with moving to online? And the answer is, as long as we're facilitating human connections, that's what's most important. And our mission and our vision is just so darn important. There's a study by the University of Pennsylvania talking about the impact that Meetup has on people's lives. I talk to organizers and members all the time. When I met with an organizer last week, he was telling me he met his wife through a Meetup. He got his job through a Meetup. He overcame anxiety and depression because of the board game Meetup that he happened to have been a part of. It's really something special, and we never want our mission and values to change. And if you look at us compared with other social media sites, and I'll just add that I have a lot of respect for both Facebook and Twitter's recent decisions that they made. I'm not going to repeat what those are, but you can see those in the news. And the more times that people use Meetup, the happier that they actually are. This is also based on a third-party study by University of Pennsylvania. So one best practice is that if you're going to pivot your business, if you're going to pivot your Meetup group, make sure that you don't change the mission and the values of that group, but you could change the tactics and the strategy, and that's what we tried to do. The other thing that we did in 2020 was we said, okay, we are attempting to open up online events, but we need to equip our organizers and make it easier for them to do so. So we created a blog called Community Matters, because community does matter. Any of you who are not a part of the blog, please sign up. You get some really good advice on how to support community during this particular time, and how to transition things from in-person to online, and sometimes now from online, hopefully in a few months, back to in-person. And we also created Meetup Live, which is what you're all on today. We have over 35,000 members of Meetup Live. And I'm particularly proud of the ongoing series that we have at Meetup Live that focuses on social justice and racial equality. We've had some incredibly amazing people as part of those events. Number 6, in terms of the kind of top 8 best practices that we learned from pivoting. Learn to pivot your business or your meetup based on what's happening in your group, or in our case, within our organizers and within our members. And one of the things we saw was that in early June, when George Floyd was brutally murdered, we saw a significant number of meetup groups just starting. So them starting in Dallas and in Orlando and in Knoxville. And then first it was a few, then a dozen, then 50, and they just kept growing and growing. And we said, there's something here that's happening within the meetup ecosystem, and we need to learn from that user behavior. And as you think about your businesses, understanding what's actually happening to user behavior should always direct your pivot. So we decided to make any communities that are focused on Black justice and racial equality free on Meetup. So if anyone here is part of any groups or wants to start a group related to that, please reach out, start a group. It's free to organize. We're in 5 countries right now. We'd love to be in 50 countries, and know that it's something that we want to continue for forever to support. The number 6 best practice is understanding user behavior and having that user behavior drive the strategy of your pivot, as we did in 2020. Number 5 is to make sure that when you're pivoting your business area, as we did for Meetup, we said, how can we make sure we're minimizing our risk? How can we make sure and minimizing risk for our members and for our organizers? So we did a lot to create guidelines for in-person Meetup events. And here's a list of the guidelines, which of course has been etched in our brains, not just for Meetup, but by the world, and hopefully we're all keeping to. And then what we also did is we said it's very important that we update all of our policies. And this is not something that we did a day or 2 ago, but based on what's happened recently. This is something we've been doing over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 months in terms of updating our policies, because each of your safety, every one of our organizer or member's safety, is something that is a real differentiating factor. You could go to some event and you don't know what's going to happen there or who's going to be there. But there are, unfortunately, tens of thousands, in fact, even hundreds of thousands of people that we don't allow to continue to attend Meetup events, or to continue to organize Meetup events, or to be part of groups, because they don't necessarily create the safe environments that we must have within our groups and our communities. So for example, we changed our philosophy around and policy around firearms in terms of buying, selling, and trading of ammunitions. We have a new and important policy around militia gatherings related to violence and how absolutely not permitted that is. We have new policy regarding conspiracy theories and ensuring that we're never that no group will ever advance conspiracy theories that promote hatred, violence. You could certainly read the rest that's related to this. We need to make sure that any threats of violence, that we revoke the membership of users who in any way attempt that or insinuate that in any possible way. And we've updated that policy. And more than just updating a policy, we're enforcing the policies. Because one thing to update a policy, it's as important to make sure we're enforcing those policies as well. And then for COVID-19, of course, we didn't have a policy for that prior to COVID-19. Now we have significant guidelines and policies related to COVID-19 as well. Our trust and safety group is something that is one of the most important areas in our company. And I just wanted to thank them for the hard work that they do in every single day. Going to number 4, best practice around one's pivoting is pivoting around your unique value proposition. Making sure that what you do that's special in the world is something that you pivot around. What you do, not just what user behavior is, but what you do that's unique and special. We have so many different amazing outdoor clubs, and we're seeing significant growth in outdoor. We're seeing growth in tennis-related meetups and other gatherings where there's social distancing that's inherent in that particular group. Our health and wellness meetups, our meditation meetup events, yoga events, all those are seeing anything related to health and wellness is also growing quite significantly, both because of New Year's resolution, but also because of the condition that we're all in today. We started a beta this past year in 2020. Most of you probably don't know about it. We didn't make a big thing about it, actually, where each time a new organizer comes into our organization, that we immediately welcome them and match them up with potential mentors and help them to understand some of the ways in which our mentors have succeeded at Meetup and how they can potentially succeed as well. I have my email address at the end. If it's something you're interested in learning more about, then please email me and we'll make sure to sync you up. What we did is we created online webinars for new organizers, workshops for new organizers. And we did it as a beta test, meaning if some of you are new organizers and don't know anything about this, we did it for about 50%, and for 50% we didn't do it for, in order to be able to compare and contrast perceptions between those two different groups. So not all of you have access to it if you're a new organizer, but it's something that we thought was really important to do as part of 2020, the entire onboarding process for our organizers. That was another pivot. The next pivot, best practice, is around making sure that you don't just focus on the current, but you double down for the future. So we pivoted and we said, we are going to make Meetup. I have a 19-year-old son in college. It's a very, very difficult time for any college student. We make Meetup free for anyone who's a .edu address. So if anyone who have family members of .edu addresses, literally you just type in Meetup Campus Community Initiative, you'll go to a landing page and it's free. We've had hundreds of thousands of people, college students, non-college students, RSVPing, attending Meetup events through college communities. Number two, best practice in thinking about a pivot that we thought about at Meetup is making sure you leverage any data or information that you have. Whether you're a Meetup Pro customer and you have a detailed dashboard and analytics, or whether you have basic information that you're able to get in terms of your Meetup group or just your business generally, leverage that data and thinking about where you want to take it. So for us, some data that's interesting is thinking about sharing what percentage of events around the globe are in person. So as you can see, in Australia, New Zealand, it's a very high percentage of events today that are in person. China, Mongolia, same thing. Apparently Madagascar, same thing. And then there are other places, whether it's Russia, Mexico, South America, where the percentage of events in person is obviously significantly lower. And there's obviously a high correlation there, no doubt, to COVID. And then in terms of which ones are becoming increasingly more in person, meaning where it's becoming safer to be able to hold a safe and in-person event, and which ones is becoming more challenging and less safe. We also have that as well. The last element of a pivot is we spent a little more time this past year in really creating better features and capabilities for our enterprise and SMB clients in terms of our pro product. There's a host of new features that we're really looking forward to launching in the next couple of months. You know, for example, in the next couple of months, we will launch a feature for our pro clients that if someone has 10 groups, 20 groups, 50 groups, whatever it is, they could have one event across all 50 groups. It's a network event. And that's the number one most requested feature. We couldn't have done that beforehand when everything was in person. It's very hard to coordinate 200 different events in person, 200 different locations. But now you can have one online event across 50 different geographies in a very quick and efficient way. So what did we see? We started seeing a recovery. We started seeing, if you look at online, the blue over here, each of these areas actually recovering throughout May, June, July, August, September, October, November, etc. And we saw IRL in person starting to recover, but our business, even though it went down a challenge, it's moving back up again. And these are the number of people RSVPing to events. This is the number of people that are creating new events, Meetup organizers and members. And we're not back to what we were. We're not back to what we were, but we keep seeing that growth. And it's because of every single person here who is so committed to your communities and to your groups that's why that's happening. And what's fascinating is looking at some countries. So for example, Hong Kong is up 20% in people's RSVPing versus what they were before COVID. South Africa is up 10% versus what they were before COVID. And what you're seeing here is that our hope is that every country ends up seeing this kind of growth, because there's going to be this need, just like there was in the roaring 1920s, there's going to be a need in the 2020s to get back out and to do it safely, of course, and to get back together. So this is a list of 8 principles to pivoting that we learned at Meetup as part of our experience. Now I want to shift the conversation to what are we doing in 2021 from a marketing standpoint to support our organizers, drive more people to attend events, and to improve our product. Here we go. Number 1, I thought I would share with you some of the messaging that we're coming out with for a marketing and branding perspective. It's not what, well, I'll start with every moment matters. Create your moment with Meetup. Define what matters most to you on Meetup. Community makes belonging matter. And it's not what you do now, what you do, but it's how you do it. There's some of the messages and branding that we're going out to in Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and TikTok and all the social media platforms, in display and in search and in all the ways in which we're spending really hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing every single month in order to really continue to grow and support each of your groups. The other thing we're really focusing on this year in 2021 is testimonials and user stories. So if anyone has a story, please share it with me. Please send me an email. I would love to hear your stories. I would love to talk to you more about your stories. And we're using that as a way for people to understand how Meetup has helped to impact people's lives. The stories of connecting, moments that lead to connection, life-changing experiences. What we're also doing is we have a data science and machine learning team within the company, and our head of our data science team actually spoke at a Meetup event. It was great. He did a great job. And we were refining all of our machine learning algorithms, and we're really making sure that the right people get to your events. That's the goal. We get the right people to your events. And as for members here who are not organizers, that you find the right events when you come to Meetup. And we're integrated this upcoming year. Another important focus with better notification infrastructure, both for in-app notifications and also for desktop notifications and email notifications. And the goal is, though, to make sure each one of those is smart. We never want to become people to get all these notifications that are not helpful, but it's in having fewer but smarter, more targeted notifications. That's going to be a priority for us in 2021. We're also going to be doing a lot more organizer workshops. This is an example of one that we did recently, how to market and promote your group. And we've had thousands of people going to these. If you go to Meetup Live, you'll see past examples. If you subscribe to our blog, you can listen to any of these, and they're really a wealth of information that could help you become a more successful organizer. If you're a member and you want to become an organizer, also can help you there. Okay, this is something I'm really excited about it, and we launched it very recently, and we're going to keep improving upon it. It's called Happening Now. Imagine a world where rather than someone sitting around bored out of their minds, going onto YouTube and getting lost in YouTube and just one video after another video after another video playing, or go onto Netflix and just keep watching show after show after show on Netflix, and that's how they're occupying their time. Well, imagine a world instead where, and this can only be done because of online, it couldn't have been done beforehand, that there's a feature, which there is right now on Meetup, check out our apps in particular, where you could find events that are live right now. They're happening right now. And you just click on it and you join that event. And we're featuring those events that are happening now, both 30 minutes before and also after their start time. So if it started 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes, 15 minutes prior, it allows you to join it. And rather than the person browsing around the YouTube, browsing around Netflix, they could browse and they could find a group, a community to interact with, to have a conversation with, to build a relationship with. We also added our mobile app a filter for finding events that are happening now, as you can see on the right-hand side. And we're really focused on just increased discoverability in the platform. That's something that's going to be a big focus of ours in the future. How can we make happening now be an amazing experience for millions of people, as opposed to the other things that people could be doing necessarily with their time? Another big initiative that we have for 2021 is around search. And whether it's having much better search results based on distance, better search results so you could search both events and also by groups. Some people want to search for groups. Some people only want to search for events, and having better recommendation filter around that. Making sure our filtering around groups and events. So for example, if you only want to look at online events, we have that now. If you want to look at only in-person events, you want to look at events only in certain distances to you, just much better filter around events is another key priority for us in 2021. Okay, now I want to talk about hybrid events. Hybrid events is an event. Picture your typical tech event that happened pre-COVID. Typical tech event pre-COVID was someone presenting or a panel of people presenting, and it was a great experience for people in the room, but it wasn't something that was easy to do and make it both an in-room experience and also a virtual experience. People just online to be able to have that, they would always be kind of not negative experiences, shall we say. Now today, many tech events are not in person, they're only online. And there's some great parts of that, the chat functionality, the breakout group functionality. There's so many amazing things that online can do that in-person couldn't do. And there's so many great things that in-person could do that online also couldn't do from a networking standpoint, et cetera. Well, our priority is we want to really be the leaders in that hybrid experience. We want to make sure that in 2021, we really think about the best of online, the best of in-person. It doesn't mean that someone online is going to get the exact same experience as in person, or vice versa. But how do we make it so that the best comes out in both sides? And that's going to be another priority for us in 2021. On the app side, we launched a whole bunch of different things, but deep linking for virtual events to make the experience straight from the app into Zoom or Google Meet a much more seamless experience, making for a much faster registration process on the apps. Definitely too cumbersome today, without a doubt, and faster and data loading time. Again, we need to make sure that Meetup is a faster experience, both on the apps and on web. Very high priorities for us. And then also making sure that we're doing a better job. I saw so many people coming in from many different countries and speaking different languages. We're a company with 193 different countries, but we could do a better job of supporting those. And making sure that we're focused not just on language, but on real localization in those countries is another big opportunity for us in 2021. So last slide here, actually, and I'll answer some questions, which is, wow, right on time. I want you to take your phone, go on your camera of your phone, and point it towards the QR code that you see in front of you that says scan me. And it's going to open up a message, a notification that you can then click on and join the Meetup podcast. This Meetup podcast was launched 3 days ago. It's called Keep Connected. And we have our first episode on there with an amazing leader in community building. We have another episode coming up shortly about an individual who went from being homeless to someone who's running for parliament in their country. And he attributes Meetup to that reason. It's very motivational. We have authors who we're going to be interviewing that are community experts. And because you're Meetuppers, just like I'm a Meetupper, I encourage you. I think you'll feel proud to be part of the company, to listen to at least the first episode of the podcast and consider subscribing to it so you can get notifications of when additional episodes come up. So I hope this was helpful in terms of understanding some of the things we focused on in 2020 in terms of the major pivot that we did, how we had some challenges, obviously, in the business from that. We reinvested into the business to make sure that we continue to grow the number of people that attend your Meetup events and groups. And we're continuing to steadily see continued climbing of people attending events. And obviously, just like happened in the past with history, the history in the future is going to be people around the world getting back out and having even greater appreciation for going out and doing things. So now I'm going to open up to Q&A, and I'm going to look at some questions right here that have come in. So here we go. Isu, excuse me if I mispronounce your name, ESU, asked, do you feel online meetings will dry up eventually? I know I'm feeling overwhelmed about these and nearly reaching a saturation point. You're not the only one. I think when we're in a world where we're back to being able to be in person, we're back to getting together in person, and it's not an online only world, I think we're all gonna have a different perspective on online events at that particular time. I know I feel burned out and Zoom fatigue. I think we all feel Zoom fatigue, but I think once we get to a hybrid world, there's going to be something special actually about going to an online event. And online events have so much benefits, so many benefits to Meetup and generally. Think about how many speakers that you have been able to hear through an online event that you never would have had access to beforehand. If you're a Meetup organizer, think about how many people that can attend your Meetup group in a different city or different country that never could have attended that group beforehand. People who can't afford to necessarily travel to other locations can now afford to be able to go online and join your group. It democratizes access to learning new languages, new computer programs. I mean, it's just computer languages. There's so many benefits to it, which is why we're going to keep it. I do think that people are at a saturation point. I think that is going to evolve and change as people get back together in person. Chris asked, are you going to offer your own payment technology for events in the future? I'm glad you asked that, Chris. I don't think I shouldn't say I don't think. We are not going to create our own technology for payments. And the reason for that, I don't think that's what you meant, but I'll just be clear. That's not what Meetup's expertise is. As a company, you need to focus on what your expertise is. Our expertise is bringing people in and matching the right person to the right event and helping to support our organizers and our members in a safe way. But we are integrating with new payment systems. We just integrated with PayPal, both in the US and obviously we have been integrated with PayPal outside of the US for some time. And there's going to be new ticketing and dues payment infrastructure that will be rolling out actually very soon, meaning in a matter of several weeks. Our plan is to improve upon those and to make it much more advantageous and much cheaper for an organizer to use our tools than if you're using Eventbrite, for example, today. So if you're paying extra as Eventbrite, you'll pay less than that as a percentage using our payment and dues tools. So a lot more on that to come. But that's not something that's like 6 months away. It's literally like a month or two away. So more to come on that, especially in our product update. We'll hopefully share an update there. Barry asked, are the plans to enhance Meetup Pro? Big time. So the number one feature, like I mentioned, within Meetup Pro that people are asking for is if I have 10 groups or 15 groups in 15 different cities, I don't want to create 15 different events or have to kind of cobble my way into posting the same event in 15 different locations. It's so inefficient. I want to make it so we're making it super easy to launch a networking an event across all of the different groups that you happen to have. That's one important way in which we're enhancing Pro. And there's a host of other features that are on the roadmap. We should probably have a Meetup Live just about Pro at some point. So I'll try to remember to do that. So thank you for asking that, Barry. James asked, here we go. James asked, please tell us why and when Meetup was formed. Okay, I'll do this briefly because I'm worried that many of you have probably already heard this story. But it's still quite a special story. So I'm going to stop sharing right now. Okay, hopefully you can all still see me. Meetup was founded literally in the ashes of 9/11. Our founder, Scott Heiferman, a truly exceptional individual, saw after the 9/11 was that day, he saw people just kind of in a daze, as we all were in a daze. I certainly remember I was in a daze. And he saw all these people, wandering around and looking for community and looking for someone to talk to. And he realized it shouldn't take a tragedy to make someone build relationships and build community. So that was the founding of Meetup, very specifically, really related to 9/11 in the building community. Mark asked, what does IRL stand for? IRL, sorry, Mark, it stands for in real life, in real life. So doing it in person. Joe asked, will Meetuppers be able to host meetings at AlleyCorp locations in the future at no cost like the previous program with WeWork? Potentially. The challenge is, Joe, AlleyCorp only has one location. It's not like WeWork, which had hundreds of locations. So it likely isn't going to have that much value for you. AlleyCorp is a venture capital fund with a number of employees and doing some incredibly interesting creative investments. They are very supportive of the long-term focus of Meetup. They are not focused on just kind of a short-term quick fix, kind of invest and then flip it and turn it around. We have a great partnership with them, but they don't have really physical locations, so it's not so applicable, Joe. Christopher asked, the happening now sounds great, but you spoke of getting the right people to your meetups. What that means is rather unclear. How is the happening now going to screen or not screen those meetup joiners? So don't think of it as a screening or non-screening. Think of it as if you, Christopher, go on Meetup, you are going to see different events recommended to you than if Joe went on, or Mark went on, or Ari went on, or Isu went on, and you're all going to have different experiences. And the ones that you end up seeing that are kind of recommended to you will hopefully have the greatest applicability to you as well. So that when you do decide to choose an event that's happening now, it's going to be like, wow, I'm really interested in this. I'm really interested in that. So check out the Happening Now feature. A lot better than Netflix. Okay, next one. Ari asked, can you clarify the timeline on the same event pushed to multiple locator once on the pro version? Sure. I'd rather under promise and over deliver. So let's say that by the end of this quarter, by the end of March, that's when we're targeting. And if it ends up being a little earlier, then great. But better to just assume at the end of March that we're looking to have that capability. And I'm so glad, Ari, that you're happy to have it. This is on the way, so are we. So that's the time frame you should be expecting. Thank you, Ari. Leo Benkel asked, will those changes mean that the search for groups events will be less tied to very good question, Leo, less tied to physical location? I would like to see virtual events related to my interests from all around the globe, not just, yes, okay. So we had our data science and machine learning team blow up our past models because our past models only focused on in-person. And well, like Leo said, hey, I'm super interested in collecting Pez dispensers. I'm not, but let's just say I was. And oh, wow, there's a Pez dispenser discussion group in Berlin, and I'm in New York. Well, I want to find out about that Pez dispenser discussion group in Berlin. So how do I get that out? So what we did is we said, okay, let's make sure that if there's something that is like super highly aligned with someone's interest, and we know those interests based on what events they went to beforehand, no matter where it is in the globe, you're going to find out about it. So when you go onto the app, when you go onto desktop, you're going to see online events popping up in cities around the world because they're applicable to your interests. And it's about kind of triaging how much do you prioritize interest level, how much do you prioritize location. Obviously, the ideal is if something's in the same location and also super high interest, and that's something that our models are continuing to optimize for and figure out. Great question, Leo. Okay, Randy asked, will we be able to directly integrate our Meetup group members to other services like Zoom events registration, MailChimp, or Slack? So one of our priorities for our head of business development is focused on integrations. So I've reached out to Zoom, we're reaching out to Eventbrite, we're reaching out to a bunch of other places in order to really have better integrations with third parties. It's something that I think we were not as comfortable doing in the past, and something we're a hell of a lot more comfortable doing in the future. So it is absolutely a priority, and just like when we said in apps in particular, we're going to see deep linking much more significantly than the experience that we have today. So Randy, thank you for asking. Okay, we only have 3 more minutes. Able Lenders asked, can you access Meetup events from other countries without the need of a VPN? I don't know the answer to that. If Rena or anyone else does know the answer, please share it on chat or in the Q&A. I'm assuming no, but I'd rather have a person who's the expert who knows the answer to that answer that. Shugi asked, can we as organizers get to be, yes, okay, Shugi, okay, thank you. We've recorded the first 4 episodes of the podcast. 2 of them were people who have written books about community and are leaders. 2 of them are people who have beautiful stories and experiences around Meetup. I'm desperately looking for amazing stories to put and people to have on the podcast and to interview and to learn from you. So please send me an email, david@meetup.com, if you're an organizer and be interested in going on the podcast. Please do. So Shugi, thank you for asking that. And for all of you, keep it in mind, please. We'd love to hear from you. That's how we're gonna have great people. Okay, do you think, last one, do you think Meetup will return? David Linhart, okay, I like your first name. And this is the last question. Do you think Meetup will return pre-COVID levels in 2021? Do I think? I expect that Meetup will be substantially larger by the end of 2021 than it was pre-COVID. That's what I expect. I expect it to happen because people have so much awareness about during lockdowns, during social distancing, of the need to get back out and do things. And I also know that organizers like you, our members like you, are so devoted, who are taking 45 minutes of your time just to hear from me, which is so like thoughtful and kind of you, to take the time to do this. It's really appreciated. And I think that when we get back out and we get back out safely, which is now months away, we hope, months away, depending on the geography, that there's going to be so many more people that are going to be looking to join your groups of growing events. And we're planning on spending significant amount of dollars in marketing to drive those people to your groups and to your events and to our platform to connect and realize the beauty of human connections. So anyway, obviously I couldn't get to every person's question. We are going to have more people who are head of product part of it. I just wanted to thank you all very much again for joining today. I'm grateful for everything that you do. And I hope this year is a year filled with health, a year filled with joy, and a year filled with everything that you hope it to become, and things that are even better that you don't even know and have planned for. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.